What's going on, guys? Schmeckle here, and the latest episode of Game of Thrones was a nice little cooldown we got from last week's epic Hold the Door episode. While I did enjoy it, I did feel that certain scenes went on a little too long, and that the ending was slightly unnecessary. The one thing I started to notice about this season, and I'm sure some of you will agree with me, is that these episodes are way too short for a normal Thrones season. Way too short. This episode clocked in at around 50 minutes, minus the intro and outro songs, and I find this to be a major problem, especially considering a lot of the scenes we've gotten recently could have had more substance to them. This wouldn't be a major problem if the show's premiere and finale were over an hour and 30 minutes, but so far, that doesn't seem like it'll be the case. But this episode, as I said, had its moments and did surprise me in terms of progress for some storylines, and some people have commented on how this is the first episode without anybody dying. Minus flashbacks and plays, of course. Comment section, back me up on this if it's true. Now, with all that out of the way, let's get on to it. First, let's start with Bran, Meera, and the return of Uncle Benjen. Yes, he's finally back and ready to kick ass with his flail that can catch fire, which I thought was pretty cool. I don't know about you guys, but I'm always happy when we get to see these awesome medieval weapons that we haven't seen yet on the show, and I love when they're used in cool and interesting ways. But Bran's scenes this time around were short and a little spazzy with the visions, but also pretty good. Spazzy because they moved around so fast, and you literally have to rewind multiple times or have a nice quick finger to pause it at the right time to catch a sort of glimpse at key pivotal moments in the Thrones lore. Some people were complaining about it not fitting with the tune of the scene, but I did enjoy it. In the ever so often Hollywood fashion, all hope is lost when Meera is running away from the cave and then Benjen comes and saves them, and you automatically knew it was Benjen because who else could it be? Now this is where the controversy begins. It's been public for a while now that Cold Hands, the mysterious figure beyond the wall that helps Bran's party in the books, is not Benjen. How do we know? Well, because George Martin's editor asked him about it and he said no. Here's a picture now. Some people speculate that George was just lying to his editor to get her to stop asking him questions, and others believe that Cold Hands and Benjen are two completely different people, but the show didn't want to try and introduce new characters beyond the wall, so they just said fuck it and merged the two. My belief is that Cold Hands in the books is Benjen, but George is doing one of those things where he's saying that the Benjen we knew is long gone, and that this person is someone else entirely different, but has the appearance of Benjen. Like, it's the Benjen we knew, but because he's been dead, I guess he's a changed person, so George is referring to him as being someone else. Like what happened with Arya. The Arya Stark we knew is gone, but in her place is no one. Yeah, I think he's doing something like that, but to the review, Benjen comes in and saves them just in time, of course, and we find out that the Raven isn't exactly a person, but a title. When he told Bran it was time for him to become me, I guess he meant his job. It's time for Bran to become what he was all this time. It seems the mantle of the three-eyed raven has been passed down to Bran, and with it, a lot of knowledge. We also learned that in order to stop someone from turning into a white, you need to infuse them with obsidian, much like the rituals to make the walkers in the first place, but something has been bugging me for quite a while. Why did Benjen lead a ranging party to find white walkers? And why did the Children of the Forest save him? And where was he throughout the entire events in Season 4 when Bran was heading to the cave? I hope these questions are answered, but overall, I did enjoy the Bran scenes this time around, and I really did like the return of Benjen, and something tells me that when he starts to lead Bran back to the wall, he may not follow them through it, which is a shame because having an undead Stark on their team is every Bolton's worst nightmare. Moving on to Sam and Gilly, and oh look, I have said that without throwing up in my mouth. No, this time, Sam and Gilly actually don't suck, and I really did enjoy it, mainly because of his family. That shot of Horn Hill when they're coming in on the horses was beautiful. I love how it kinda looks like the Parthenon in Greece, but what really stole the scene for me was James Faulkner as Randyll Tarly. Faulkner as Randyll is turning out to be one of the best casting choices the show has made in quite a while. He joins the ranks of Charles Dance as Tywin and Sean Bean as Ned Stark in this regard. It's almost like he was born to play that role. The silent treatment at dinner, the cold stare, and the brutal remarks. Anybody who's ever had a shitty father figure in their life know how that feels, and I'm sure that it hit home for a lot of you guys watching, men and women. While a lot of you guys have said that it could have been cut down, I disagree and would say that every scene with them was necessary and I wasn't bored by it. I did like seeing Gilly in something other than dish rags, and Sam's family seemed quite nice. I will say though, it was kind of shitty foreshadowing for them to write in Randall's lines towards the end of dinner. Sam, you're a fat bitch. By the way, that sword over there, it's Valyrian steel and no longer yours, so fuck you and get out. It was a little obvious that Sam would have taken it, and I can't wait to see his face when he sees that it's gone. But at this point, however, I can't see where Sam and Gilly are going to go next, considering he'll be on the run from his father, but I'm actually excited to see how that'll play out. Hopefully he starts his training in Old Town by the end of this season. But like I said, I did enjoy Sam and Gilly this episode, and I hope they continue to be interesting and meet new characters along the way that allow Sam's character to shine. Now moving on to King's Landing, which I thought could have been cut down a little, and I wasn't really invested in it this time around as much as I wanted to be. Seeing Marjorie being all religious is definitely weird, but at the same time, I know it's all an act to help get her brother out of there. I like that we're finally getting to see the Tyrell army in their unique armor, which every house already has one, but they ended up doing nothing, which disappointed the hell out of me. Not only that, but Tommen is turning out to be the new Ollie, because holy shit kid, you fucking suck. But I think there's a reason behind it this time, which I'll get into in a minute. What I found mostly fucked up in this episode was Jaime being let go of the Kingsguard by Tommen, because we all know how much it meant to him. In Season 4, Jaime declines being the Lord of Casterly Rock, mainly because he wanted to do his best at his current position. He wants to fill the White Book of Brothers with heroic deeds and accomplishments while he's still a Kingsguard, and it's sad to see that it can't happen anymore, and I feel for Jaime because he doesn't deserve this, but I think he's just a casualty of a bigger plan. As for the High Sparrow, he's shaping up to be a great character and player in the King's Landing political arena, but at the same time I feel like the show is executing this a little late in this season. While I love Jonathan Pryce as the High Sparrow, I feel like his character is just being used to lengthen the King's Landing scenes with speech after speech after speech. What I did like, however, is by sparing Marjorie, he sent the biggest fuck you to Cersei by not letting her do the Walk of Atonement. He was also able to get Tommen and the Kingsguard on his side, but I think there is more to this, and follow me here. If done correctly, this will be the biggest comeback we've ever seen from Cersei. There was a scene several episodes back when Tommen and Cersei have a discussion in private, and we never get to see what the contents are about. My theory here is that Cersei and Tommen are playing the High Sparrow by letting him think he's converted Tommen and the Kingsguard over to the faith, and just then, in that moment, when his guard is let down, and he thinks he's pulled one over on Cersei, she comes back at him in full force and annihilates all of them. As for Jaime being let go of the Kingsguard, well, that was needed so the High Sparrow can feel like he's won. It should all be about making the enemy feel like they have the upper hand and then swiftly pulling out the rug from under them for a deadly strike. Personally, if I was on the show's writing team, that's what I would do. Make the audience think that the tiring old trope of Tommen being a weak, naive little pushover was happening again, and in the end, we come to see that he isn't naive, but he was playing the game. The audience has to come to expect Tommen to be such a wimp at this point, so I hope the showrunners surprise us in the end by all this being Cersei's master plan, and Tommen is in on it, and assisting her with it. And the reason I think this is Cersei's master plan is mainly because when Jaime was removed from Kingsguard, he was telling her about how the High Sparrow has his claws in Tommen. She kept a calm and collective head. She's also actively encouraging Jaime to go to the Riverlands and secure Riverrun, for a certain reason, which I won't go into right now considering it's very spoilery, but Cersei just seemed way too cool with all of this, and I wouldn't be too surprised if she'll end up getting her revenge, and the episode playing out with the Reigns of Castamere like it usually does. Now, I forget who said this, but I agree with the statement that it's nice to see Maisie Williams actually do something on the show than repeat the same lines over and over again. In Bravos, Arya doesn't go through with the assassination of Lady Crane, and I want to call your attention to something that I did notice in my first view of the episode. When Arya and Lady Crane were talking about how the Queen would have reacted completely different, I kept thinking, Arya knows Cersei so well, but I was wrong. When Arya was giving the actress her thoughts on what would have really happened, she wasn't talking about Cersei, she was actually talking about herself, and that really hit home for me. She was talking about how much she loved her father, and how she never got to say goodbye, and how she wouldn't cry, but she wanted to kill all the people who did those things to her. That's the moment when you realize she could never truly be no one, and you could tell. Soon after this, the waif notices that Arya doesn't go through with it, and reports back to Jaqen, who orders Arya to be taken care of. Now here's the thing, Jaqen's not an idiot. Even though he follows the Assassin's Creed and way of life, he also knows Arya quite well, considering he was the one conversing with her about the target and sensed that she had some reservations about killing Lady Crane. My theory here is that Jaqen sent her on that mission knowing fully well that she wouldn't be able to go through with it, all to give Arya her final test. Survive the waif, who, in my opinion, has grown a little too cocky for her own good. I think this is further backed by Jaqen saying, make sure she doesn't suffer, when he fully knows very well that the waif doesn't like Arya and hasn't from the very beginning. My guess is that Arya will either kill the waif and escape Bravos back to Westeros, or after she kills the waif, Jaqen will come out of nowhere and congratulate her on passing the test. I can't see Arya being killed off by the Faceless Men so easily, but then again, they're good at what they do, so it's not impossible. For those of you a little frustrated that Arya's time as an assassin was too brief, and the pacing was a bit off, please check out the books where they go into much detail about it, and even offer some surprises on her character. And no, I'm not trying to be some kind of jerk trying to, sell you something, but I feel like her time in the House of Black and White was a little too short for me, and it ended on her being a rogue a little too quickly. But regardless, I really did enjoy the Arya stuff this episode. I love Maisie Williams. She's an amazing actress, and I'm really excited to see where this will go and how their confrontation will play out. And before we get to Dany, let's check over with Walder Frey. Now, it's a very short scene, but its main purpose is to set up the return of Blackfish Tully, taking back Riverrun. Those of you who don't remember, Brendan Tully, also known as the Blackfish, is the uncle of Catelyn and Edmure Tully, and he's been missing ever since the end of the Red Wedding. In the show, it's been about a year since the Red Wedding took place, but we, the audience, haven't seen him in about 3 years. So I do like the fact that this show is giving us these characters again. It makes the world of Game of Thrones seem all that bigger. Now, all we need is Gendry and Quaithe, and we'll be all set. This scene was a little too short for my taste. Its main purpose, like I said, is to set up the next episode and bring in a new storyline, focusing on the internal conflicts in the Riverlands. While I did enjoy it, it did leave me wanting more, and according to the next episode teaser, we will be getting a full-blown scene with both House Tully, Lannister, and Frey, which I'm really excited for. And finally, we have Dany over in the Dothraki Sea. The scene started out okay, but ended a little weird, and it was just missing something for me. While I like that she's finally going to head over to Westeros and she's bringing the Dothraki with her, I feel like that entire ending and her getting on Drogon's back was just unnecessary and kind of lame. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like we don't need her to yell how much of a badass she is anymore. Not only that, but I almost feel bad for the Dothraki who are probably just yelling along with her so she doesn't have the dragon eat them all. To me, that ending felt out of place, and they could have put an Arya with Needle, which I feel would have been a much better closing scene. Some people say it was cringeworthy, but maybe that's not the right word. For me, I think the word would be random and out of nowhere. Also, what the hell was the whole, how many ships do we need? About 1,000? Nah! How fucking convenient for Euron. It's almost like he and Daryl are working together. But I think that'd be way too stupid. But at the same time, this is coming from the guys who are completely okay with them writing in bad pussy and putting it in the show, so anything's possible. I still think Dario is the bad guy here, but I do wonder, if he is, how will he maneuver around her dragons? But to the point, I think the main issue I had with Dany these past couple of seasons is just that her character is becoming stale for me, in the sense that it's just the same thing every season for her. It's almost like they've run out of ideas and things for her to do, and that's getting boring for me because they never write in any flaws for the character. She's a little too perfect, and it's a far cry from the book version, where in one chapter she has a terrible case of diarrhea. Say what you want about George, but the son of a bitch knows how to keep his characters real and fresh. But overall, I liked the episode. Minus that ending and some of the High Sparrow scenes, I quite enjoyed it. Bran's scenes with Benjen were great, and the flashbacks, if you managed to catch some of them, were a nice touch. I think Arya really took the spotlight this episode, and her storyline was the most interesting. The episode was, in a way, a little slow with almost nothing going on, but I'm okay with that because, on occasions, we need things to slow down a little and set things up for the next series of episodes. And no, this isn't a slight against a certain someone. This is just how I genuinely feel, but people think this show is supposed to have a what the fuck moment at every turn, but I do enjoy when it calms down a bit and gives us time to breathe and enjoy the characters, as long as they aren't being repetitive in their storylines. My one issue with the season so far, other than the episodes being incredibly short and them not giving characters enough to do, are the speeches. Everybody's making a goddamn speech nowadays. Season 6 is the season of speeches. Dany's making one, Jon's making one, the High Sparrow, don't even get me started on this fucking guy. At this point, he's not even made of flesh and bones, he's just made of words. But like I said, I did like it. So far, the episodes, minus the premiere, have been pretty good and hopefully it continues. Now, I hate to cut the video so short, but the episode itself was very short, but I'd love to know what you guys thought of it. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Baba Booey.